I'm having to use my monitor and have a new tab open to use the white screen of the Google homepage to give myself enough lighting on the face, so that's the kind of setup I have right now. How's it going, guys? Kansas night race was tonight. I was not expecting much. I do like that it's a night race. I kind of hope there are more night races, but the first half, actually first 80% of this race was fairly, and we were expecting that. And then it got a little bit crazy and things became a little bit messy. A pretty decent finish, so let's talk about it. I'm just going to skip most of stage 1 and 2. I will say who won the stage. I think the end of stage 1 was alright because Jimmy Johnson, who was already a lap down because of a loose wheel, was trying to hold up Ryan Blaney to not go 2 laps down. And then Ryan Blaney and Kevin Harvick had a pretty good battle there at the end. Harvick wasn't able to get to him, so Ryan Blaney won stage 1. Kyle Larson, who started from the back, ended up going all the way to the front of the field. He would get into the lead, and then he would dominate most of stage 2, and really nothing happened in stage 2. I can't tell you anything, to be honest. There were no natural cautions at this point, neither in stage 1 or stage 2, until we get to the kind of talking point. So Kyle Larson wins stage 2. We head into stage 3. Again, nothing's really happening. Larson's leading. And then towards the later part of the race, Daniel Suarez would lose control, wreck, involve Alex Bowman. That'd bring out the first natural caution of the race. It'd bring the field back together. Larson was still leading, Blaney was still up there, Harvick was still up there, but with the restart that ensued, basically Larson took the bottom, Blaney was in third, Harvick was in second. Larson doesn't get the best of runs through 1 and 2. Ryan Blaney gets sucked around, almost wrecks Harvick and falls back a little bit. Harvick is able to go around the outside mainly because of side force and is just able to keep Larson on the bottom. Larson can't do anything. He tried. I was amazingly impressed with his driving talent and car control skills at how he was able to not lose control, especially coming out of turn 4 on the first lap of the restart and then heading into turn 1 completely sideways and still not being sucked around by Kevin Harvick. So that was really impressive, but he wasn't going to get the lead. Once Harvick got to his outside, it was a done deal. So Harvick's able to get the lead, and then Larson and Blaney come back. Blaney's trying to pass Larson. Blaney's trying to side draft Larson down the front straightaway and end up making contact. And this is all Ryan Blaney's fault. You also have to put some blame on the aero package because the package does force these guys to side draft so hard because they know they can't run side by side, as you saw with the Larson and Harvick situation. It takes a special talent just to be able to hang on the inside at Kansas like Larson was. So Blaney was trying really hard to side draft Larson because he knew he wanted to clear him, not really battle him in the corners because you don't really want to do that. And then it just ended up making contact. Blaney took the blame for it. He knows he took the blame for it. He said the car got light coming on the down the front straightaway. That makes sense too because if he's basically turning right or not even turning at all down the tri-oval to try to side draft Kyle Larson. When you do that going down the tri-oval and then you try turning left to get off of him, it could get really light, and then they make contact, and the second contact, that was the heaviest contact in the incident, wasn't really in Blaney's control. He was already out of control by that moment, but it's all Blaney's fault. He knows it, and then unfortunately for Larson, that gave some damage on the left rear. He had a pit, fix that. And then also, you can't put all the blame. I mean, it is Blaney's fault in terms of drivers, but then you have to put also blame on the aero package because, as you guys know how much I hate it, that's what this package does. You have to try to side draft. You can't run in the corners side by side, so you have to try to side draft as hard as you can, and that's what happens. So then pit road opens, and then strategy play comes into play. So now we have Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano, Chase Elliott. These guys like that are up towards the front. Kevin Harvick pits along with some of the other front runners, but the main guy is Kevin Harvick. Kyle Larson is in the back of the pack kind of because of the damage, so he had to pit, fix the damage. He lost all his track position. But then we restart again, and then the big one happens at Kansas again. It seems like there's a lot of these really hard wrecks at Kansas. William Byron underneath Clint Boyer with a charging Kevin Harvick coming on the outside. Byron gets sucked around head on into the wall. Ryan Newman has another car on top of him. He just can't seem to not have cars on top of him. And it's a very similar situation to what you saw most of the night when you get these restarts and the cars are traveling this fast through the corners because they're carrying so much speed through the corners, more than they really ever have. And they don't have any rear downforce because the spoiler is so small. The cars are on the ground. There's no ride height rule, so these things are squirrely, and this is what happens. And I'm just really glad William Byron's okay because that was a really hard hit. That's the worst hit you could take in racing, which is head-on. It wasn't a 90-degree head-on hit, luckily. He kind of hit it at like maybe 75, 80 degrees, so it took some of it off. And then also Newman having Newman be underneath Byron helped him when his car catapulted up like Eric Almirola did last year, but it helped him fall and have like something to break his fall so he didn't hurt his back. He obviously looked sore. I mean, you're going to be sore after a hit like that. That's the worst hit to have in racing. I hate it. It makes me uncomfortable when I watch a head-on hit like that. I'm just glad William Byron's okay. He had a fairly good run for what Hendrick was. We'll talk about that later in the video. And it was just another byproduct of racing really hard at a track that carries a lot of speed with an aero package where the cars just shouldn't be aggressively racing side by side. The top car and the bottom car, they can't be close together in the corners. You could put a car up in the top lane and a car in the bottom lane, but if you're asking the top car to pinch down the bottom, this is going to happen on the restarts, and it happens a lot. It happened at Indianapolis last year with Truex and Kyle Busch. It happened at Texas this year also with that Denny Hamlin, Jimmy Johnson wreck. I think Kyle Busch was the one that got loose, and then Denny Hamlin got loose as well, and it happened here again. So when you're at tracks that carry that much speed through the corners, on restarts specifically, this is what's going to happen. It's just part of the deal that drivers have to try and get around. So after that big wreck, a red flag ensues. Truex is still in the lead, but Harvick is able, I think he got up to 6th place around there. Truex on old tires is able to pull away. This is a 10-lap shootout. He's able to pull away. I mean, clean air is just an amazing thing. It's spectacular. Kevin Harvick gets into 2nd place, but he's not able to actually run down Truex the first 2 laps. He gets into 2nd place. He's losing time. The gap runs up to 1.1, so Harvick said he was pretty tight. He moves to the top of the racetrack, gets into clean air, and next thing you know, he's gaining 0.3 a lap. And it only takes a couple laps for Harvick to get to the outside of Truex. Truex probably should have blocked the top a little bit more and try to force Harvick down on the inside, but Truex didn't do that. He kind of ran the middle lane, and Harvick went around the top lane by the wall. And like I said, you can't really run side by side once someone gets on to the top of you with all the side draft and all the aero that's involved. So Harvick just cruises right around Truex. Truex has no shot after that. He got close coming to the white flag in the tri-oval, and he looked like he was right on the left rear of Harvick and might have backed off just a little bit not to turn him. That's what it looked like in my opinion. I've only seen it once, and it was only when I saw it live, so that's what I thought I saw. And it would have been, that's probably good because you wouldn't want to hook someone after they just passed you clean around the outside. So that would have been pretty bad. But Harvick goes on to win his 5th race of the season. Not really a big surprise. I think Kyle Larson was probably the best car because he did come from the back all the way to the front, was able to pass like no one else was able to. And that restart where he wasn't able to hold Harvick back and got trapped on the bottom lane, he probably could have won it, but unfortunately he didn't. Now before we talk about the race a little bit more, let's go to the race results because I know you guys want to see them. So Harvick, Truex, Logano, Larson, and Denny Hamlin rounds out your top 5. Larson did an incredible job just to get back up into the top 5. Paul Menard with a good run in 6th, Eric Jones in 7th, Kurt Busch 8th, Eric Almirola 9th, and Kyle Busch 10th. Guys like Menard, Jones, and Hamlin, and Logano, and Truex, they all finished much better than they were running most of the night because of those wrecks that happened and the pit strategy that was involved, but they deserve it because they did that pit strategy. Truex decided to stay out, and he was only 2 laps away, or 1 lap away, really, from winning the race. Stenhouse Jr. and Chase Elliott had a little bit of an altercation at the end of the race. I think Stenhouse pulled a slide job. Chase wasn't happy with the fact of him pulling a slide job in the last lap because it forced Chase to lift. It's kind of just a racing deal. They were upset. They'll probably work that out. I don't think that's going to be anything to see or anything to talk about in the near future. David Reagan with a good run in 13th. Brad Keselowski fights his way back to 14th. He had an issue earlier in the race. I think it was a penalty, a violation, or some sort of loose wheel. It was some sort of pit stop sequence penalty or issue that happened to him. He got trapped a lap down, and with the no natural cautions, the race just went green unless it was a competition caution. It was really hard for him to get back onto the lead lap until the end of the race. And Clint Boyer rounds out your top 50. From 16th to 30th, I'll let you guys read the results. A lot of these guys here either just had really bad runs, like Jimmy Johnson, Alex Bowman, Austin Dillon, and a lot of them were also involved in incidents and wrecks. Bubba Wallace Jr. had a little bit of contact with the wall, cut a tire very early in the race that pretty much ended it for him. Ryan Newman, like I said, finishing at 30th, and then 31 through 38, you see a lot of the wreck guys, William Byron, Daniel Suarez, and some other guys. And Matt Kenseth was involved in that big wreck as well, finishing 36th. He's going to be running with that car. He's going to be running around the 25th to 30th area pretty much every race. Roush Fenway's cars are just that poor right now, so Kenseth isn't really going to be able to help them a lot. Kenseth also didn't comment when he came out of the medical center just because he was probably really frustrated with how the race went, and it's understandable. Now let's talk about some of the main points of the race. Hendrick Motorsports again was absolutely abysmal. I mean, they're just so bad. They were running, this is probably their worst race of the year. They were all running outside the top 15. Jimmy Johnson never even sniffed the top 20. I mean, it was horrible. It was really, really bad. They should be ashamed of themselves with how pathetic they are, honestly. To even have Kyle Larson be able to race like that, and I think Kyle Larson is probably better than all the drivers at Hendrick right now. Not better than all. I'd say he's level with Jimmy, because you got to get when Jimmy has the car. I mean, he's a 7-time champ. But the fact is, Jimmy is running 15th or 20th or worse week in, week out. Chase Elliott is a top 15 car week in, week out. Alex Bowman is a top 15 to 20 car week in, week out, and it is very, very poor. Don't really got to put it on them too much because they know it. That's the thing. Everyone at Hendrick Motorsports knows how poor they are, and they're working really hard to fix it. So there's no real reason into criticizing them as much as we already have. They are incredibly poor. They need to figure it out. It's probably something in the chassis department, something with the downforce that they need. They just don't know how to get it. Could be horsepower as well, but I don't think that would be the answer. I mean, it looks like the Chevys in total have enough horsepower. It's just something with downforce. They just can't get the car to handle properly and to be able to gain the time that these Fords and Toyotas were making. Bob Pockris brought up a good point, how the Chevys, the new Camaro and Hendrick, were preparing for the old tech system. So, the plates and all that, not the new laser inspection tech system, but the old one. So the Camaro was built, and the Hendrick cars, they built their chassis probably preparing for the old tech system, and then the new tech system was introduced. So when that new tech system was introduced, and Hendrick was already developing this car and their chassis for 2018, it might have thrown them off. They might have lost possible advantages. It does make a lot of sense, because you've seen Larson dip a little bit as well. That could be because of the body, but today he was fairly good, and Larson is still better than all the Hendrick guys. So I think that's part of it. I don't think it's all of it, but I do think it is part of it, and it has thrown them off a little bit. But it is very clear that they are so far behind Larson. They are so far behind Toyota, and they are so far behind SHR and Ford and Penske. It's really bad. They know it, so we'll just carry on from there. And I'll touch on the overall race itself. I would say the first half of the race, on a scale of 1 to 10, is probably a 3 or a 4. It was horrible, but it's expected because of just the package and the racetrack that we're at. 1.5 miles of the package we have, that's what you're going to get. The second half of the race, or the last 30 laps, because of the wrecks, it created a little bit more entertainment. Was it better racing at the end? I would also say a little bit better racing because they were the drivers really went for it there at the end, 3-4 wide down the straightaways and just trying to survive through the corners, run the high line with Harvick, trying to get that clean air. That's what everyone's searching for, is clean air. So again, you guys already know how much I hate this car package and aero package, so no need to really keep talking about it. I just really hope we can get through some of the 1.5 mile races. I think this one is gonna be one of the better ones because of the excitement at the end. But those incidents that you saw was due to side force and due to the aero package. I mean, you just can't pinch someone down. Side force is going to play a huge part in it because once you lose that side force, you're going to get sucked around. Happened with Blaney, he almost wrecked. Happened with Larson, he couldn't hold off Harvick. Happened with Ryan Blaney trying to side draft because he knows he has to side draft because you can't run side by side. Pushed it too hard, that wreck. And then William Byron going head on into the wall again, getting sucked around because of side force and side draft. So hopefully one of the days in the future we'll get an announcement that it's being worked on, because I just hope there is positivity. One big shout out to Kyle Larson. He is a beautiful, beautiful positive spotlight in the sport right now. One of the beautiful things to look at in the sport is Kyle Larson and his driving ability and his driving talent and his ability just to enjoy going from the back to the front and just enjoy passing cars and doing what he can with the car that he has. It's very difficult to pass in this car right now because of clean air, but he will pull a slide job off and he'll try his best to wing that thing, and he is probably the best talent right now in the sport. Harvick definitely is an amazing talent. He has 5 race wins, obviously, and Kyle Busch as well. But Larson, with the car that he has and just the sheer driving talent you can see from him on display, both at dirt tracks, sprint cars, and now the Cup Series and Xfinity Series and everything that he's in, you could just see how much talent he has. He's incredible. He's definitely a positive for the future of the sport. So I just want to give a big shout out to Kyle Larson because he was definitely by far the best part of this race. So that is it for Kansas. Guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you liked the video, make sure to like button. Comment down below what you thought of the race. How do you feel about Harvick already having 5 wins on the season? They definitely do deserve it. That 4 car and that 4 team, especially Rodney Childress setting up the cars, and everyone on that 4 team is doing a fantastic job. They've definitely figured out the speed in that car and definitely have a good amount of downforce, and the chassis is great on that thing. So we'll see how far they can go. I think they can definitely win double-digit races and pull off a kind of like one of those Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson seasons back in the day. So we'll see how far it goes. I'll see you guys later. Hope you're having a fantastic day. All-Star races next, and that's going to be a fun one, baby. We have no clue what's going to happen with plates at plates at Charlotte. Restrictor plates at Charlotte. There we go. So we'll see what happens. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.
I can't change. Even if I tried, even if I wanted to, and I can't change. Even if I try, my love, she keeps me warm.